let's have a look at one MP, Andrew Percy, who got up in the House of Commons today and actually talked about the threats to his family and to his lifestyle.
I was in Israel last week meeting with friends and survivors and hostage families, and I actually felt safer in Israel than I do in this country at this moment in time. And I have two reflections on that visit and on what happened yesterday. First of all, nobody in this House has any business agency at all in telling the State of Israel where it is able to operate to seek to rescue hostages who are being raped by Islamic terrorists who hold them.
And again, it's this situation that nobody really wants to talk about. And if the result of having a debate about what's happening in another country is this divisive, then maybe they shouldn't do it. You know, I'm not saying that it's not relevant, but, you know, it's maybe not relevant for British MPs to be arguing in a tribal fashion about which, you know, method of a ceasefire you should be having.
Last night's fiasco, it was a fiasco, was so politically charged. What the SNP wanted to do was to show up the division in Labour, because they're very divided on this issue. So this whole stop Hoyle, the whole thing.
Just stop Hoyle.
Just stop Hoyle, see what I did there?
Yes.
You work on that sort of principle. The reality is this, it was there, it was politically charged, and it's abhorrent. There are certain issues we should properly discuss in a mature way to turn around and say, look, there are other issues in this country we need to address as well, but let's not use this as a political hot potato.
It's an insult to the British public, because if you can get this heated and this charged about something that doesn't affect us, I mean, the whole fiasco was an exercise in virtue signalling. It's not like this vote is suddenly going to change the Netanyahu a decision on their actions in Gaza. I mean, if you want to have the conversation of how much we spend on defence, which I think is a very valid conversation because we've halved defence spending since the 80s, absolutely, but that should be in the context of British protection and British interests.
Well, that's the other thing.
But that's not what they're even talking about.
Well, I mean, we can't even fire a missile up into the air until we can just watch it come back down again on top of you. I mean, that's what happened in Florida.
It's metaphorical of the government.
I blame Grant Shapps, by the way, because he was on the boat. But the bottom line is, you know, most people in this country, yes, you're right to say that we are affected by what's happening in the Red Sea. We are affected by some of the things that happen geopolitically. But most people in this country are worried about putting food on the table for their kids, making sure they get from one end of the day to the next without having a car crash or getting stabbed on the street or getting robbed, you know, or having some kind of accident where they end up in hospital for hours and hours on end because there's no doctors to see them.
But I will say, in this country, I feel the outrage, the things that are happening abroad, this outrage that happens online, it's the faux moralism. Everybody wants to say, you know, I'm part of this. I want to hashtag this. This is what I
Here's my Palestinian flag.
This is what I stand for. I mean, I went past an architecture building on the way into London today, and they had Free Palestine up there. I wonder what they are actually doing within their business, or is that just, you know, shop front dressing?
I mean, I think it says something. It says a lot about this country that particularly middle-class elites are more outraged by what's going on abroad. And I'm not saying I don't care about what's going on in Gaza. Of course, it's important. It's heartbreaking and all of that. But most people are more outraged by that than drug deaths in Glasgow or homelessness in Leeds.
Or kids being stabbed to death.
HS2. Exactly. And I just think, actually, how much weight do we have to give what these people have to say? Because we're supposed to be living in the UK. We're supposed to be British. We're supposed to love this country and have a sense of duty to our fellow citizens. And yet we're more outraged by things that are happening elsewhere.
And what's outrageous as well is a lot of people on these marches don't really know what the phrase is.
They don't know anything.
So
well, we've all seen the various, you know, sort of interviews on the streets.
Which river, which
sea, they don't know. I mean, I saw one in America where they were talking about the Black Sea, Caspian Sea, you know, the Bering Sea.
Exactly.
You know.
Jordan Sea and Mediterranean Sea is the thing. But the reason it's so offensive, we should remind people, is it's talking about genocide. It's genocidal intention by saying from the river to the sea. If people realise that what they're supporting, I think some people would hopefully think twice before doing that.
Well, see, the trouble again, though, we're out of time, unfortunately, but as long as the police keep telling them, actually, don't worry about it, you're fine. It's not a crime as long as it's part of a public protest. Well, you know, they're just going to keep doing it.
It is a crime under the Terrorism Act.
Of course it is. It's ridiculous.